Counselor Warner,
Yes, ma'am.
want to bless us?
Yes, ma'am. Let's bow our heads. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day, Lord. We thank you for this time of fellowship, Lord. We just ask that you continue to bless us, Lord, and that we may be a light into the path, Lord, for those that are out there, Lord, seeking your guidance. We ask that you fill our cup with wisdom and kindness. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, sir. All right, Shelley, see if we got a quorum here. Yes, ma'am. Oh, I'm here. I'm sorry. Counselor Shambaugh's talking to you. You'll England.
Tony.
Harley Buzzard. Joe Bird. Sean Crittenden. Mike Dobbins.
Here.
Frankie Hargis. Wanda Hatfield. Rex Jordan. Dick Lay.
Here.
Mike Shambaugh.
Here.
Mary Bakershaw. Connie. E.O. Spence.
Here.
Victoria Vesquez. David Walkenstick. Brian Warner.
Tony.
Okay. So let's approve the minutes. Everybody's
Motion
looking
to approve.
Second. Got a motion in a second?
Sean's calendar says he was at 3. He left, he's trying to come back for him last.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, so Lacey is here. I know she is. I am.
Well, I just saw you a couple weeks ago, Council, and the good grant news just continues to roll in. So I really want to commend the Cherokee Nation Grant Services Department for all their efforts and the programs that coordinate to help write these grants. We can't do it alone, and so we need assistance. And so we've got a lot of good grants coming through, and I think you all will be pleased with the work we've done. And I want to say I appreciate Councilor Shambaugh and Councilor Smith. The purple and gold today was a very nice contrast for me from high-end watching on the video, so I like that. With that, I'll be happy to take any questions or comments you might have.
Does anybody have any questions for our treasurer? If not, go keep us legal.
Thank you.
As the chief says.
We've got a substitute budget mod coming up, so.
Are you going to stay for that?
Yes, I am.
Diane, always here and ready to go. And I do want to announce, Sean had us down at 3 o'clock, which is our normal meeting time, so he went ahead and left after the last discussion. Gail called him back, and he will be back, so we'll hear from him after this other stuff. So, Diane, you got a big celebration going on this afternoon.
Yes, at 2 o'clock. Just want to remind everybody, we also have a job fair that's going on in Roland tomorrow for the people down in Sequoia County. We'll be recruiting for the C&B facility there. And then we also want to remind you that the Northeast Oklahoma Regional Alliance Summit is next Tuesday, and it's at Northeastern State University. It's from 8 to 2 o'clock. I think this is about the 7th or 8th one they've had. So if you participated, come on up. There'll be a lot of good information shared. We also have the tarot banquet scheduled for Thursday, November the 1st. So want to remind everybody of that. And probably we'll have special seating for the council. We usually have tables designated for you. And if you're bringing somebody with you, let Tammy Hooper know so that we can plan for that. We have a potential business we're working with in, well, it's funny. It's called Project Rodeo. We think it's a glass company. We don't know really for sure, but we think it is. Anyway, they have did a presentation in Tulsa. Tulsa Chamber asked us to be a part of that presentation. Last week we went up there. Then Scott Fry from Mid-America called and said they were coming to Pryor and said, can you all come up and work with us on this? And we said, we've already done that for Tulsa. He said, that's okay. He said, you're just involved with all of it. And then Inola called and said they were looking at them too, so they wanted us to come over there. So we're kind of involved with all 3 areas. It's kind of like the vet center. I know the vet center, they're looking at Salisaw, and I know that they're looking at Muskogee. So, you know, we're kind of sitting in both areas. But we're lending our support, and we work very closely with all the different areas as far as economic development jobs. So anyway, that's what we got going on, and encourage you to come if you can. I want to thank all you council members for supporting us and helping us with all of our different events. And Dr. Dobbins, I did some research for the Job Corps today.
Oh, yeah.
You were our dentist over there back in the day.
Was.
Yes.
Everybody's surprised.
Well, I saw your name in some of the correspondence from Department of Labor, and I thought, that's Dr. Dobbins.
That's right.
So, a lot of history there.
Sure is.
Any questions?
Okay. Any other questions or comments for Diane? Okay,
Thank you.
keep up the good work. Do we have anybody here from Commerce?
Where'd Sean go?
I know Anna was here yesterday. Okay. Sean is on his way back. We'll move on to the consent items and then we'll hear from Sean when he gets here. So let's take up the tarot items first. And if nobody has any questions about the tarot certifications, I will. I have a motion and a second to approve the tarot certifications. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay. You got a new community assistance form. Check it over. Be sure you've got everything on there.
Move for approval.
Thank you, Buell.
Second.
Okay, I got a motion and a second. We have a few additions. Go ahead, Keith.
Additions. 3 additions. Ulaga FFA 1,000, Chelsea FFA 1,000, and Ulaga High School Band 750.
It'll go FFA, and what was the second and third one?
Chelsea FFA
Okay.
1,000, and Ulaga High School Band 750.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll find out.
All right,
Motion to approve.
I got a 2,500 Greasy School, 400 Stillwell High School basketball, 200 Peavine School, $650 New Life Church.
What was the third one, Sean?
Peavine School, 200.
It's relaxing. Any other additions? If not, let's vote. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposition? Okay, that passes. I think we'll go ahead and run through the rest of the consent items and then we'll have our presenters come back up. So law enforcement requests are in your book.
Any changes
Frankie?
to that?
Have a motion, can I have a second? Second. Got a motion and a second.
I gotta add,
Yes, you can, Mr. Shambo.
I would like 5,000 to West Siloam Police Department.
Okay, with that one addition, all those in favor? Any opposition? Brings us to roads. Everybody look over your projects, then I'll entertain a motion. Frankie?
Motion to approve.
Got a motion and a second on the roads. All those in favor? Any opposition? Okay. Sports teams. Looks like there were 3 new ones.
Motion to approve.
Got a motion and a second on sports teams. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay, the last one is the livestock. I do think there were a few new ones on that. Okay. Okay, so there's, I think 3 new livestock. So can I have a motion?
Motion to approve. Second.
Have a motion and a second for livestock. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay. Jody, if you would go ahead and step back, and we'll let Sean go ahead and present, and then I saw Anna come in also, so we'll go back and do those reports.
My apologies.
That's all right.
This meeting was on my calendar for 3 o'clock, and I just happened to think that's an awful long time based on history, and called Gail, and she said, "No, you're late." So I made a U-turn and hustled back here. Sorry about that.
It's quite all right.
Just kind of one thing before I start. Barbara Knowlton, many of you know, that's been with us for a long time, is our administrative assistant, retired on a week ago Wednesday, and going to miss her. Amber Edwards has taken her place. Amber has been Chuck's administrative assistant for 2, 3, 4 years. Young Cherokee lady that has a lot of initiative and ambition and good work skills, and she'll be happy to take any requests that you have and try to make them happen. So don't hesitate to call Amber. One note, I guess, last Wednesday, Barbara's dad passed away, and his funeral is tomorrow, or Thursday morning. So, anyway.
Sean, for Counselor Lay's benefit, do you know what Amber's hometown is?
Pryor.
Not Adair County.
She's from Pryor.
Thank you. Didn't mean to interrupt your train of thought there.
Sean, would you tell Barbara Knowlton, and we'll do a card or something, that she really did an outstanding job.
Yeah,
I think she was with us, what, 17 years?
I think
You know,
2003.
yes. And under different changes in administration, changes with our CEO, and yet she just kept performing her job. There wasn't a time where I didn't call that lady, she couldn't make things happen. I mean, she trained you guys right.
She did. And Amber's trying. Finished up the year at September 30th, about, I'm going to guess, between 12 and 14 million more than we did in 2017 on the bottom line. So congratulations to all of our employees that made that happen. Very proud of them and the year they had, and that's with a new casino coming on market. Diversified Businesses had a fantastic year, as did the gaming operations. I'm not sure what Chuck shared with you last night, but I was at a kickoff dinner for our new HR initiative, installing a new software program to manage our HR people. The one we have, PeopleSoft, was installed in 2002 when we had 400 or 500 people. We now have 7,000, and it's time for a replacement to help us manage that into the future. It is about a 14-month implementation plan. It's extensive. We have a lot of our best people doing the regular job plus that, so we wanted to thank them for that in advance, and their spouse, since or guests, since they will have the home front while they're working. And it's a nice dinner. Appreciate the effort on the chef's part and our food and beverage. I think that the projects are all on track, close to budget. We'll open Tahlequah here May 1st. We'll open the Hard Rock expansion February 1st. Both be very nice facilities. You may have seen the plaza under construction. Chuck's got that rolling. Got some feelers out for new people and new tenants, and looking forward to Nuke's opening in January. So I guess the newest thing is we're going to help with the Man Killer Clinic, and we're going to take down the old part of that facility, and we're going to rebuild that. And we have looked at 2 different options on that with Dr. Grimm, and really they're driving it. They're just going to tell us what to build, and I think they're very close to making a decision as to what they want to do there to put that back. Additionally, the company will be helping with the med school construction on that, or at least the financing part. So anyway, that's it at a high level today, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Go ahead, Councilor Walkinston.
Hey, Sean, we just got to have a discussion earlier about the death toll there in Stillwell. And, we're talking about our investment, how much millions of dollars we put into health care. And, the thing that I guess disturbs me in all this is the prevention side of it, the wellness side of it. We're putting hundreds of millions of dollars into health care, but we're doing on the wellness side. And the statistics that we've seen, the death toll was caused by heart disease. That was the largest one, So, this is something to, I don't know, it's probably a conversation I have with Chief Baker or somebody, but I guess they're the ones that give you guys direction on investment in healthcare and so forth. So, that's just an idea there.
Sure.
So, anyways, and with this new software we got for HR, will this be able to identify positions, names, what their ethnicity is, their job, what their salary is?
I don't know the inner workings of it, but it's the most current technology out there, so I assume that, that will be there.
Yeah, we're paying pretty good money for it, I assume.
Absolutely.
Okay, so hopefully it would cover all of those different topics that we could pull a report up pretty quick. And
we went through an exhaustive study, narrowed it down to 2 different software packages, and have chosen this one.
okay. All right, well, appreciate you, Sean. Thank you, Chair.
Go ahead, Speaker.
With the competition that we have in the Tulsa area, the market for gaming, how long will it take for us to see the effect of the new casino that was coming in from our northwest there?
Well, Mark Fulton says we don't participate in a downturn, and I think they proved that through the opening of the Creek one. I believe Osage opened in August, and we were above budget August and September at Hard Rock in our gaming. So they've done a fantastic job with their customer relations.
Thank you,
Councilor
Madam Chair.
Crittenden?
Yes. Sorry. Just wanted to update the council. We discussed the employee situation. I wanted to thank Sean and an employee that was all but terminated is back at work. So I appreciate you meeting us here. They, like I said, they were to be terminated. In our last meeting, it was looking that way still, that they were going to be terminated. And she's back at work, and I am so happy for the family, appreciative of those who came here. What had happened is we met here the following Monday. Sean, Deputy Chief, Secretary, David Walkenstick, the family, and a couple co-workers, and they got their say. And Sean was listening. Some of the loss prevention folks were here, and it was a good ending. Now, Sean helped me out, and people of the committee here. What concerned me is she was so close to being terminated and I wholeheartedly believe if you hadn't agreed to meet that day, and Deputy and Secretary and Councilor Walkenstick and the family, I believe that she wouldn't have a job today. So I would sure appreciate, the loss prevention crew. They were nice, but on this particular thing, they were going to fail this family. unless, like I said, we had our meeting and things turned out. So I'm concerned about, you know, the ones in the past, and I'm sure I've got confidence that they do their work great. But in the future, if there's an issue with an employee that you know, more than one person thinks that they need to be heard, I really would like, you know, that same scenario to play out, or figure out something where we can all feel like that the employee had their say-so, instead of, you know, in the past, I'm not putting a negative spin on this, but in the past, some issues were loss prevention found this, end of story. But I like how this turned out. Now, if it would have turned out differently with our meeting, you and I, Sean and I had a really good talk. I said, I'm going to come into this meeting with an open mind. He said the same thing, open mind. And if one of us walked out of this place feeling different than we came in, we would accept that. But I hope in the future that we can work together like that. Hopefully nothing comes up, but you feel the same way that we can do that?
Well, I appreciate it, what you're saying, Sean, and like I said last time, I'll look into that situation because I had a little more information on that one, and had already asked for a review and for the preterm to be put on hold. I have a lot of confidence in our loss prevention, and I think based on the information that they had at the time, that they were making the right decision.
But that chance you gave the family to present their information, because if they wouldn't have had that chance, they would have been out of job.
I can't do that for every situation, but for the ones that there's some questions in my mind on, we try to do the right thing every time. And I've never had an employee yet that thought they should be terminated. So,
right. But this one shouldn't have been.
Well,
and
I'm not going to get into the specifics. The result was that they weren't.
Right.
And let's just let it go at that.
And I'm hoping that we won't meet that again.
Yeah.
But if it does, like I said, I'm appreciative of how that turned out, and there were more ears than just you and I on a phone, or me and Chief on a phone getting mad at each other. They got to say so, and I'm sure appreciative. So thank you.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. Okay, go ahead, Councilor Smith.
How about the sports bet windows? What latest on that?
On the sports bet, last week they had the G2E conference in Vegas. Chuck and Mark Fulton and most of our gaming management team were at the AMA where they were discussing gaming, the sports bet, and it's getting closer and closer. The Mississippi Choctaws have it. I think 4 states have it outside of Nevada, and it's something that will need to be dealt with. We don't know what the timing is on that. We don't know what the state's going to try to do. We prefer it to be under the compact so that, we've got exclusivity, and we'll just have to see how this next legislative session goes and what the state is going to do to have an answer for that. It's not a lot of money for us, kind of like roulette and cards and things like that, but it's an amenity that will bring other people to the table that otherwise might not. The other thing that it may end up doing is being more over the phone, mobile apps and things. So it's kind of up in the air. Everybody's eyes on it.
Yes, Sean, have you all done any, not surveys, polling to see how we're going to do with Arkansas on the gaming issue coming up?
Well, the update on that, I don't know if Chuck briefed you on that, but I guess last week, or maybe the week before, the court overruled the 2 challenges that were filed against it. So that means that no more challenges can be filed against it. It will be on the ballot to be voted on. Our polls are favorable at this point. There's no organized opposition at this point. We think that over the next probably 2 to 3 weeks, I think there's like 25 days left, that at some point Mississippi may jump in there and try to influence it because of Tunica and what the Southland property there at Memphis would do to Tunica, the impact it would have on their gaming. So nothing's happened as of last night, but you could turn on the TV or the radio now and see a commercial running against it. There's been a little bit of, and when I say organized, there are voices out there expressing their displeasure with it, but no organized effort with money behind it. So as of today, as of yesterday, looks very promising. But you know how elections and polls are; they could definitely be wrong.
And after this meeting, I need to speak with you about OSU CHS just for a few minutes.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Sean.
Welcome.
Appreciate you. Brings us down to Anna Knight.
I apologize for my tardiness. Diane must have given her shortest report ever. I did just want to point out a few things. You have a copy of my report, but we were able to, we basically closed before the end of the year about $2.2 million in business loans. So last year it was 2.7. So we're continuing to see a demand of over $2 million a year in the loan programs, or in the small business loan program. And with those loans, it created 213 jobs in the communities by small business. So it's not as splashy as big companies, but it's a great way to grow our communities and to create jobs based in the communities. Also, the Economic Development Trust Authority's assets continue to grow. Right now we have almost $8.7 million in commercial loans outstanding and almost $2 million in consumer loans. And so usually we grow those assets not through any kind of appropriation from the council, but we grow them through grants that we receive, and by having the ability to put the income back into the program to make more loans with instead of paying for the staff expense. So, and let's see, there was one more thing. Basically, I wanted to also point out that at the Art Center, that 3,732 visits were made to the Art Center. So artists continue to use the Art Center program and the equipment, and that number continues to grow. And through the Spider Gallery, artists earn about $60,000 in a year. So the Spider Gallery continues to be a good outlet for artists to sell their wares. On the grants page, we did receive the SBA Prime to continue the CAWI operations. So far for this fiscal year, we have received $1.9 million in grants. And other than that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
I did have a question about the Crystal Bridges project.
Mm-hmm.
Can you just expound on that just a little bit?
Well, it's actually Matt Anderson going over there to try to work with them on creating an exhibit that would help with exposure of Native American artists. And so Matt's just kind of helping them pull some things together from the Cherokee artists to be able to include in the exhibit.
Do you have something?
I just have a comment, and I have a comment relating to that. I'm very thankful and grateful for the space that you that you make possible for the National Treasures to teach their classes. And I recently took an individual on a tour of Spider Gallery, the College Bay, and the Cherokee Art Center, and they were just blown away by what we have there, especially like in the silversmithing, all the equipment, everything's more than current, and as well as studio space. I want to thank you for that. But I also want to give kudos to Matt Anderson for the way he just continues to do more and more to help the artists not only show their work at Cherokee Art Market, he's always there, and he does things that are over and above, I think, what most people would do in that position. So thank you for it.
He's a bundle of energy, and he's extremely helpful. One evening, Shay and I had to go to, it was during the holiday, we went down to the art center to pick something up, and we couldn't get in the building. Don't have the code, but out of the shadows walks Matt, and I'm like, are you here? Do you spend the night in your car? He's always there, and he's extremely helpful. He does a great job.
And he's also very talented.
He is. He has a lot of different talents.
Singing, so we're blessed with him. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But I think also he has the ability to teach people, to get, you know, that talent across to people, and not everybody can do that. So.
Yeah, he does a
All
great
in all,
job.
good guy. Do you have something to say, Chief?
Yes, the 13th annual art market over the weekend. If those of you who were not there, you really missed a very exciting and great event. Our art here anymore, it's comparable to Southwest. I go to Santa Fe sometimes and visit that one. But this one here, prize money, the people that show up are all over the United States anymore. And we had the Spider Gallery there with their booth, and Matt was manning it, and had volunteers. Our National Treasures were there. It was really good to see all of them, but Lorraine Drywater and Dorothy Ice, two little old full-blood ladies up there, sitting there marketing their talent, and everybody just loves those two. But thank you for having the Spider Gallery have their booth there. It's just good PR, good for the Cherokee people.
It is, and Southeast art is gaining in popularity. You know, it kind of rotates around based on which art style is hot at the time, and Southeast art is gaining in popularity. So it's a good thing.
You're welcome. Go ahead.
What's the status on the Section 184s going into Arkansas and Texas? I know we voted on that a couple months ago.
Right.
Is that something that's going to take place next year in the budget? That's something.
I talked to Gary Cooper about that, and he yesterday, and he feels very good about that passing. They're still working with HUD and providing them with information, and
That's
so
something's going to take place next year, you think, or is that?
hopefully it'll take place within this this fiscal year.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
You're welcome. Any other questions for Anna? I do have one on your grants page. Sometime back, you had reported that you were doing art with the ICW children, already a program in place, and I noticed that there's a grant for that. Is that something that we're renewing, or is that something that we entered into on our own, and now we found a grant that we can use that for?
It would be, that is something that ICW and Matt were working on, and so they've been sending children down to the art center, and we bring in an artist, or ICW would pay for an artist to come in, and Matt would help them. And so we found some money that we hopefully will get that will expand that program, and it would still only expand it, I believe, for Cherokee County. In order to make it to go outside of Cherokee County, it would cost a lot more money. But there's Nikki and I have spoken, and there's a great need for it, and it's art therapy, and it's taught by a
I was thrilled when I found out that we were doing it to start with, but now if there's a grant we can get to kind of expand it or to continue it, I'm all for it. So, good work. All right. Nobody has anything else? We'll let Anna get back to it. All right. That brings us down to our budget mod. And Joe, I'm gonna let you introduce that one. You were given a substitute budget mod on your desk today. And that's the one that we want to look at.
This is the budget mod that's being proposed. We're following up on the language initiative that I talked about in Culture Committee a few weeks ago. We passed this resolution at a tri-council meeting at Echota to pursue a survey that would help us and enhance our data that we have on our language speakers, Cherokee speakers. And I think, Robbie, would you please come to the front, you and Woody? They have started the survey in their own way. Jody, you probably don't need to go too far. But we had a meeting just a week ago on an update on where we were and how we were going to proceed. But we couldn't move. We couldn't move unless we had a budget in place, because these guys are operating off of a flat budget. And so I addressed this with the chief and the secretary and our treasurer, how we can put some funds towards this project, which is much needed for these guys to pursue and enhance our immersion program, our master program. Also just getting some data and following up on this resolution. So this is the budget mod that you have before you. And I'd like for somebody else to make the motion. I usually don't make the motion if somebody would to do that. But Howard, you want to explain where we are?
Yes, Speaker Byrd, we've been working, translation, the Master Apprentice program has been working for quite a while to come up with a list of names of speakers that and where they live at, their estimated age, that sort of thing. And we came up with a pretty good number. Last Wednesday we have on the list of, it was 1,445 speakers at that point. And so this will allow us to get out in the communities and one thing, show appreciation to the speaker population, which is well needed, but also it will allow us to find out areas that we have missed. It will allow us to do an environmental study on these areas and water to risk, what are things that we need to focus with to help with grant writing efforts in the future. Maybe some areas that we would be more successful if we put a language program in this area versus this area. So it allows us to really study this population. So,
Howard, I was really taken by all the data you have gathered so far. These guys could give you the geographics and tell you where these small communities, like some of you may not even heard of, Marble City and Kenwood and Bellefonte, they could tell you how many speakers they had gathered so far, and probably 90-something% completed. So you guys have really gone above and beyond what I thought we would be at this point. I'd just like to finish it and keep it moving, but with that, we're going to need a budget to continue this process.
Absolutely.
Rob, you want to add anything to that?
I don't know if we'll ever get exactly how many, because as soon as we count one area, seem like within the next month, just the way it's been going, we're going to lose 2 or 3 in this area. So our count is always going to be because of the age factor kicking in. And some areas where previously anything that was ever done seemed like for a count of our Cherokee fluent speakers, it never was the idea of going door to door, dirt road to dirt road. And this will enable us to do a little bit of that and seek out and identify certain people of the communities that's far away from Telequal. And the idea is that those speakers know other speakers that we may not necessarily know. And there's some names, I sat down for quite a while compiling a list, and I turned it over to Howard's folks, and even from the time I first started writing down the names, I'm going through in my mind with my eyes closed, dirt road to dirt road, housing additions, private homes, and just where my area. By the time I completed that and gave it to Howard, I had to cross 9 names out.
Yeah.
And, they passed away, and we're experiencing that to great level. So hopefully with this initiative, it's going to give us a better and accurate count, and we can use it for grants too, folks.
Yep.
Because we want to know exactly how many speakers, and every one of you in here that represents a certain area, just think back where some of your people, there's some areas obviously that we're never going to get to, but we will with a 4-wheel drive truck, and we'll get there and try to see exactly. And the word is that, how do you know that there are speakers? Because we have other speakers who are doing this. And so up in my area, we're losing at a rapid pace up there, the older folks. And the demographics show us that the best case we can do is to just be adamant about this. And we're not real sure. At one point, one very long ago in the future, we were told we had 10,000 speakers. Yep. Just no way. Just no way.
And Speaker Byrd, we started a smaller test area of this back in August of 2014 in the bottom portion of Adair County. I believe, if memory serves me right, we had about 474 that we had on that list. At one time we had 512, but I think that they're passing. So when we picked this back up of August, we started back in August of 2018, roughly around 70 of them had already passed. So I know some of them was from Rob's community, and he had lost 9 in them 4 years of a list of maybe 30. So it's time that we look and really have an open mind of efforts that we're going to have to do to save our language. And
you had a list of what what this data would do for us, and I don't have it before me, but you had like 6 or 7 things we could utilize this data for. One is, there's certain districts that may not have a high number of speakers. Well, maybe that's where we need to incorporate some of these programs.
Right.
That's what I see. And then due to the numbers that we might have, how many are we graduating from the Immersion Master Apprentice program that's going to offset the numbers that we lose each year? So data is everything to us. If we don't have the data, we would be guessing.
Right.
So this is really going to put us on solid ground. It will not be the final number. There will be some, but it'll give us a start.
And it'll give us, help us with educational decisions. I mean, we'll be educated when we're making those decisions.
Yeah.
So.
And another thing I like to add is we honor all facets of all of our nation. One thing we've never done that I'm aware of is bringing everybody together and honor our pure speakers. Not that I'm aware of. And I think we need to do so, because we've got a lot of knowledge with the passing of a lot of our people, like the 70 or so within the past 2 years, 2.5 years in southern Adair County, with the 9 up around Jay. With them, without being untapped, they're taking a lot of knowledge of some of our old ways. Medicine, cooking, planting, just everything you can think of that sustains life. And spiritual, we want to, and this way also too would be to honor, just think of the folks that's from where you guys, or your districts are, some of the older folks. We need to honor these folks. They have something that less than 1% of all of our folks have: language, knowledge, and culture.
Councilor Vasquez?
Yes, thank you. This has a little bit to do with what Speaker Byrd just addressed, but how will this, or will this enable you guys to find out, particularly like my District 11, which is so far north, and I don't even know if I have any speakers in my district. Will it enable you to discover who they are and where they are, if there are any?
Yes. Right now, we're looking at you know, their names. We have a lot of home communities because you take Rob that's from Oak Hill, Piney area. You know, when he starts to come up with a list, he starts going down the community's roads when he was a kid. And that allows, you know, this is where these folks are from. And, you know, and if you see somebody that's at large, you ask them where they're from, they'll say, well, you know, I'm part of, you know, 7 Stars from Bellefonte area or Nycott area. So they still identify with that home community. There's another portion of that list that we're trying to find out where they're at currently. And, you know, I do know that I know that here the other day we wrote down that somebody lives in Veneta, that they wasn't from there, that's a speaker. So it will allow us to, you know, be able to tap into them resources in your area.
Good.
So.
And once we identify some of these folks in those areas, they will know of other speakers.
Right.
And we'll follow up on that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sean, go ahead.
How do you, on your data, do you have a list, like a certain area of names that you could get some of us? Let's say Adair County.
Right.
And I could help you with some of those that are gone, or some of those, you know, well, so-and-so lives by this one. Their name's not on here. But will this money allow you, like Rob said, to kind of get out on the roads and kind of look around? Well, I would, if it does, I would really enjoy that, just getting in a vehicle and
Just going with us.
right, and, you know, and just makes sense. Harley knows his area, you know, everybody knows their area, Frankie knows her area, but I think that'd be a good thing.
Right.
And, you know, some of these places you may or may not know, I'm not gonna take away from your knowledge of
Right.
any area, but I think I'd really look forward to doing that.
As of last Wednesday, October the 9th at 6 o'clock, we had on the list of Greasy area 186, South Bunch 71, Bellefonte 113. But you know that has changed already, and I have it.
I think there's more than
put that data on there because there's more and more coming. And you know it's interesting. We've really enjoyed. There's several speakers helping us with this by all means, and several, you know, Roy Boney's helped us with, you know, he's putting in names too. You know, sometimes you go home and you come in, it's refreshing to see how many that has been collected over the night that maybe Roy may have updated or whatever. But you'll talk to somebody and they'll say, well, I'm from Sally Bull Hollow, I'm from Salem, I'm from CC Camp, I'm from Bell, and I'm enjoying learning these little, you know, you spit on this side of the road, that may be one community, and if it's, you know, on the other side of the road, it is something different, you know, whether they're from Caney Ridge or Caney Creek, that's all different in that community's minds. And,
East and West Peavine. Better draw the line.
There's such things as North Greasy and South Greasy and a bunch, and you know, Lion Switch, and the list goes on and on and on. And
it gives us an insight too, is we're always asked, who is our youngest Cherokee speaker? Who is our oldest Cherokee speaker? We're gonna learn this. We're hearing from 46 or 47, then every once in a while we'll hear but we need to follow up.
Somebody in the 30s and that sort of thing. So we're really looking forward to being around Bellefonte, because we continue to hear that there's some young speakers up there, and I know that Councilman Byrd is going to help us in that area as well. So
we had some horseshoe tournaments down there.
Right.
They come out now.
Yeah.
Well, we're hoping that if we feed them and we love on them and give them a gift, we're working on getting a medallion for every speaker.
have Roy
that
Boney
budget.
or somebody design I think we came to a consensus, and we'll show you the council in our culture meeting. It's gonna be like, your national treasures are the people we award at our banquet for the holidays. And we came to an agreement. You guys look at it, if you like it, we'll go with it, but it's a photo of a picture of Sequoia on that medallion. And give it to all the speakers out there. So this is interesting to see who's out there, what's left in the communities, but I think it's a good project for us. I think it's going to be more positive than negative when we do it.
Thank this body, thank administration that's helping push this so much. What an honor from a child growing up in boarding school being abused for speaking to a time that we stand before them and put a medal on them for being a speaker. What a change. So I want to thank this body for that.
Jody?
Counselor Shambaugh has
No, go ahead.
something to add.
Go ahead.
Oh, Jody, Counselor Shambaugh is
Okay.
yielding his time to you.
I had a question for you guys too. I'm sure you've covered, are you making like a proficiency rating or anything as you're going through that, and also where they can write versus read and those kind of things too, I'm guessing?
We are putting down whether they can write or read. That will be something that they will self-identify. There is different proficiencies. We're not focusing on that as much as as maybe some would like us to, because we're viewing this as something that's all-encompassing, something that we will sort out the details, maybe a little later. But it's the idea that we have a speaking population that we've never really stood on the sidelines and was cheerleaders, for as much, and we want to do that. We want to tell them that they're valuable, and the stuff that they bore was worth it, and that we need them to team up with us, because we're working towards something that is very, very vital, and we will not and we cannot allow our language to slip through our fingers.
Jody, it wasn't required in the resolution that was passed in the Tri-Council. We just want first language speakers just go around. Once we get that data, then we could probably implement, some other criteria for that.
Right.
But as a speaker, it'd take me 10 seconds. I don't need a 10-minute test to determine whether one speaks or not. It'd take me one question to ask anybody in here whether they're speaking.
10 seconds, I can tell you if you're a speaker or not.
It's pretty simple. And we will have a committee, as they gather all of these names and we bring them together, let's say there's 2,000. We'll have one committee come back, like Dennis Sixkiller, John Ross, or whomever, Rob, and say, all right, let's go through that list one more time. Let's comb this out, okay? And if there's questions, then we'll call them to the front and say, all right, prove yourself.
And if we have somebody that can understand the language and don't speak it very often, because I'm getting some phone calls because the meeting that we're about to have is like, what does this mean? And that's data that we need too. So we're that was step 2 or 3. So we're on step 1. But we're definitely not going to turn away somebody that says, hey, I can understand. We'll document what they're saying, and
we're not trying to turn people in,
right.
We're trying to get them to be part
Right.
of it. It's like the gentleman in North Carolina. I think I was out there 2 weeks ago. They have 200 that they have registered out there. And UKB, what was their numbers?
They said on the phone here that they're 300, but I'm not for sure.
Okay. So it's for the 3 group. The guy back in North Carolina, I saw him 2 weeks ago. Non-tribal member, doesn't have drop of Cherokee blood. Speaks, writes, sings. Cherokee. Most awesome thing I think I've ever seen.
No pairs.
80 years old.
All right, Counselor
All right,
Shambaugh.
ready?
Well, if we're Through with discussion, I'd like to make a motion to accept this act amending Legislative Act 22-18, authorizing the comprehensive operating budget for fiscal year 2019, Mod 1A, and declaring an emergency, and I put that in form of a motion.
I'll second that.
Okay, got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Any discussion? I'd like to amend. Jody, can you come up and talk about the budget mod? Our special projects money that we have every year, the $4,000. I've been carrying mine over for the last 5 years for a mega project in my community for District 3. And this was the first year I got a phone call October the 9th from the Secretary of State and his admin assistant to say they wasn't going to carry over my $37,000. And so, anyways, the only way to do that in the budget mod is to amend it through the tribal council right here. So.
Okay, we've already passed this budget mod, and I was always under the impression that money was use it or lose it year to year. Has anybody else carried it? I mean, Kanan?
I just want to correct a misstatement. His funds were carried over 1 year, not for 5 years. We brought that over.
I got a call this year that said you need to get after it.
And he got the same emails and calls every fiscal year.
So. That's incorrect, Chairman. But I have a mega project going for District 3 for a pavilion for gospel singings for Tailholt as well as Dry Creek in excess of $50,000 to $60,000. There's other council members that have received carryover of such. But anyways, I like to carry this funds over for FY19 for District 3 in excess of, Jody, how much is it?
In our original comprehensive budget for 19, the same $37,500 was placed in there. It wasn't really identified to any district or anything. It was just matched what we had at 18. So each of you have $40,000 each. Then there was an extra $37,500 that was put in the 19 budget that was really not identified. I mean, I noticed it during comprehensive budget. It wasn't a big item. I didn't make it a big deal.
It's not identified, but it's in the budget.
There is already $37,500 in the budget.
Is that David's?
And what
it was last year. That $37,500 was last year. It was, and like I say, what they did was when they did the budget. Generally, we're looking at flat budgets for everything, and they just put that same amount in there again. Is that correct? Yeah. And so the $37,500 is already in the 19 budget.
Just so I'm clear here, is that money, $37,500, belonged to Counselor Walkingstick?
It did last year, yes.
It did two fiscal years ago, and he didn't spend it last fiscal year.
Yeah.
Along with his regular allotted $40,000.
Yeah.
Could I at least ask why Counselor Walkingstick wasn't told that he needed to spend the money?
He was.
And there's probably an email trail to identify that.
Of all fiscal years.
I mean, I've got a copy of my email that said, you've got until X day to spend yours, which I did because I want my citizens to have it rather than lose it.
Chairperson, if I may, I've been requesting the administration to turn my funds over to Dry Creek and other organizations so I could keep my funds to build up money for this mega project. And the request was denied because they didn't want to put that much money into Dry Creek. And Speaker Byrd and other people has been along with me along the way that have witnessed the denial. So I said just carry the money over into my budget for the next year. And again, these funds isn't directed towards me. These funds are directed towards District 3 and community improvement. And it's really, really important to me to be sure that those Cherokee people get those funds that they deserve.
And I agree with that, and that is exactly why when I got the email that said you need to spend it by the end of the week, I got after it and I spent it by the end of the week.
I've attempted to spend my money, Chairperson, and I've been denied. So,
Yeah, there was also no denial.
what's that?
There was also no denial.
When I tried to get that money to be spent to Dry Creek, there was no denial?
No.
Yes, there was. At plenty.
Hey, I'll make a suggestion. First, Counselor Walking Stick, there's a time frame to spend your money, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and you did not do that.
I attempted to. Speaker.
Okay, you attempted to, okay. Now, there's 37 point whatever in the budget that's already been approved. But can't we get the administration and Counselor Walking Stick, come to agreement, work something out without addressing it here? Because this is not on the agenda, first of all. But the budget has been passed with the 37,000 already in there, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Can we not do that? I mean,
Yeah, we haven't denied any projects for any council.
well,
members.
we all have that timeline
Yeah,
of
everybody.
spending our money. We all, it's not
No
just,
one ever has
it's not
trouble
just Counselor
spending
Walking Stick. We all have to spend at a certain time frame. And we did.
Yep.
Okay.
I got 31,917 that I need to get carried over in the 10-10-42 budget for FY19.
I don't do budget modifications.
Well,
So-
I'm requesting a budget mod in this body right now. I'm making a motion to amend this budget mod.
We've already passed that budget mod.
You didn't bring it to discussion.
Right.
We discussed it
I'll make a
because it
motion
was
that,
all
I'll make a
about,
motion that we recall the vote because you did not open up for discussion. You went straight to the vote.
Can I say something?
Uh-huh.
I understand the timeline. I'm already almost broke this year. I understand those timelines, but just something clicks in my head about when we were talking about there was some money in the Stillwell Clinic that really belonged to Salina Clinic, and it was a no-brainer. Who put that pot of money there? Who put this there? We didn't talk about the rules. We just said, okay, that's Salina's money. Now, you know, I'm sure we can talk about the rules later, but by golly, is that really a question? That's his district's money, and I'm sure next year he'll, well, by golly, do it differently. But I'm gonna second giving that money to him. It's his districts. It's his districts.
I want him to spend the money, but I want him to work it out with the administration. That's all I'm asking.
Spend it, Speaker.
Well, but that was before I made the recommend. I'm looking at Canaan right now. He'll work with you.
Yeah.
But you have to spend it. Give him a project. What I do is Canaan will call me and I'll say, hey, he'll say, Speaker Bird, you've got this much to spend. You need to hurry up. I'll go in Canaan's office. I said, all right, the law enforcement here, Lowry School here, and we'll go over and he'll write it down. And I spend it.
And this wasn't the first.
That's what you have to do.
This was the first fiscal year of not spending special projects money less than spent money the previous fiscal year.
Now, Canaan, will you work with Tim on this 37,000?
I'm making to, but yes.
Okay.
Mr. Speaker, the 37's already there. I'm needing the 31,917 transfer to FY19 out of the 10-10-42 budget.
So there's already 37 that we
That
haven't
was
used.
carried over previously.
Now we're going 31.
Yeah, I have a total of 70,000 needs carried over. Half of it's already carried over. I need the other half carried over. I have 70,000 total. I need carried over FY19.
well, here's the thing,
Half-
everybody else,
Chairman, let me finish. Half of it has already been carried over in FY19. When I tried to get the rest of it carried over, the Secretary of State, Canaan, called and said, we're not going to do it this year. And it's not attacking me. This is District 3. This is their money, not mine. And I think they deserve a building, a pavilion with the funds allocated to them. Now, my colleague, District 1, he's been putting money into a nonprofit every year so that he can build a big community building in Hobart. Now,
and they transfer it out
Exactly.
every year
Every year.
according to our budget.
Exactly, and I've attempted to do that, Chairperson, and I've been denied over and over because it's too much money to put in a Dry Creek community. Now, I'm not lying to you, I'm being direct with you, but I request this body to not focus this towards me, but think about if this was your district and these are your funds. That's all I'm saying.
Excuse me?
Can everybody agree that Dry Creek's gonna get this money? That's the question.
I don't think that's the question, Councilor Crittenden. The question is when you have a timeline, when our finance department sets up the budget, everybody understands, use it or lose it.
I got called October 8th after the fiscal year, and it's been a procedure already in place that I've carried money over because they won't allow me to spend it all in one community for a mega project.
Councilor Lake?
And I'm coming late to this party, I guess, I had no idea, but what the speaker mentioned, and Canaan, sounded like you and Canaan had an agreement?
Yes, yes.
And so, is that a solid legal agreement that they'll work it out?
I'm looking at Canaan right here.
And just for the record, I pulled up the most recent email that I had sent, and it was from September the 4th, and there had been previous ones.
Just 30 days.
Canaan, I think the speaker asked you if you all could work that out.
Absolutely.
To where it could be slid over, transferred, I'm not sure what, in a manner where he can help. I think it's 2 or 3 different areas. Is that correct?
And if we're not gonna have a timeline to do this, then let's do it for everybody, not just walking sticks.
Well,
is that fair enough?
Well, they did it for councilman.
But not for, they didn't do it for me.
No, but they did for District 1 last year.
No, they
Jody,
did not.
Jody Reese, did they carry over District 1 money?
It was either last year or year before.
They already done it, Speaker. It's already been set, you know.
Well, my question is to the body here. Do we want to have a timeline on there or not?
As an accountant, there needs to be a timeline on there, because if you have all this money just sitting here and sitting here, you need to spend it.
Okay, allow me to spend it in a community where I can have a mega project, so I won't have any money left in the Cherokee Nation budget.
Okay, Jody, would you?
The problem comes down to, not trying to pick sides or anything, but we've got, it's an administration budget for tribal council projects.
Yes.
That's, if they're not meeting and agreeing to what happens, the administration has the signature authority on that budget, so.
But this time, I'm looking at Canaan, and he's giving me a nod.
Yeah,
that they will.
Work it out.
There's never been a denial or a disagreement with anybody's
Canaan, that is a lie. You're lying.
Well, he's willing to work with
We've
you.
already
Okay,
passed
okay. He's willing to work with you, and we won't be calling names here. That's pretty good of him to work, because he's the guy that I go to on these special projects.
Okay. Well, I need 31,917 transfer in 10-1042. Now, I put that for a motion to amend this budget model.
Second.
We've already passed this budget.
You haven't passed
law.
it. You
Yes,
didn't do
we
it.
have.
I make a point that we recall the vote because you didn't do discussion.
Shelley, are we on the Robert's rules? How are we doing on that?
You did ask for all in favor. There was a vote taken. What needs to happen now is if you want to do this, you're going to have to do a motion to reconsider the mod, and it's a majority vote.
It's a simple majority.
Okay.
Well, hold on a second. Okay. So that's
We have to reconsider the vote. For majority votes, we're good. Yeah, you too.
Okay.
You got, I want to commend you too.
Thank you.
Okay.
We have a motion and a second to reconsider. Dick made a motion, Sean seconded.
Okay, so all those in favor of reconsidering the budget mod we just passed?
Say aye.
Say aye.
Yeah.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
So let's go ahead and do a roll call on that.
Hey, point of
Madam
order.
Chairman, there was some noise and I didn't hear the motion. I
Okay.
didn't either.
So we're going to do a roll call vote, and this is yes if you want to recall, we just passed the budget mod and amend it. No if you want to go with the vote we already had and try and settle this out of committee.
And is there discussion?
On the amendment, on the vote, do you have something to say?
On the reconsider. No, I don't. I have a question.
Is discussion allowed on that,
Yes.
Shelley? Okay, go ahead.
You're
Wanna
gonna
hear
get
what
it,
you have to
just
say.
Let it go.
And so, and I'm still confused because I
Okay.
think the speaker and the executive branch have made.
I agree.
A good
but
faith
he-
effort to work
but
it
he-
out.
If he would let it go.
Okay, well, Kane, is the agreement, the 31,000 is gonna be put on the budget mod to be carried over for FY19? You're shaking your head no.
I said, I don't know.
I need a yes or no answer.
Yeah, I mean, ideally, you would have spent this money on your constituents in a timely manner, so it's really.
Secretary, how you guys?
So, Mr. Speaker, I apologize. I was down visiting with Chief, so I'm just getting a little bit of the context, but I understood going into the meeting that there was a request from the councilman to carry over a portion of the special projects money that would have been available to him last fiscal year. Of course, we reached out and made a lot of effort to reach out to all the council members to identify those projects before we got to the end of the fiscal year. Probably repeating what's been said. That was spent. Councilman Walking Stick, if you've represented that we've denied you projects, then sir, you're incorrect. With all due respect.
No.
But if we're talking about,
Let him finish.
But Mr. Speaker, if we're talking about carryover, I mean, our position is we're not going to present a budget that carries over money that we told all the 16 of the rest of you guys, you really have to spend this, identify your projects, we want to work with you and get them done. Of course, we've not said no to a project. So we didn't want to take the position of telling 16 of you, let's identify these final projects, we've had a great year, and then say, but for one of you, we'll do carryover. That's the administration's position. Certainly, this body can amend a budget mod, and we're not going to speak to whether we approve or disapprove of that. I don't have a recollection of it being done before, but I don't have everything in front of me. But this has been use or lose, is my understanding. So,
has it been done before, Jody?
It has. But it's not, that was an exception made. It's not common practice.
Well, I'd like an exception made here as well.
When was that made, Jody? Do you recall?
Well, part of it was last year, and I think there may have been a little bit the year before, but the 37.5 was done in 18, and actually that same exact 37.5 was put in the 19 budget.
and that was actually the money that was available to Councilor Walking Stick. We carried it over last year at midterm, was my recollection. So we did that last year. We're going to do this again. I mean, we certainly want a good relationship with the council, and frankly, 16 of you, we've had a great working relationship on these projects. We want to have a great working relationship with 17 of you. If the body passes this budget, it's certainly not, maybe a hill to stand on, but just in terms of the principle of what this money was supposed to be spent and the manner in which it was supposed to be spent, we're trying to maintain as much consistency as possible.
Councilor Shaw.
Yes, could you please explain, Councilor Hatfield and I are at large, I don't understand the special project situation.
It's actually 15, it's not 17.
Yeah, my apologies. So the 15 of you that have geographic districts that you represent inside the Cherokee Nation. So I appreciate that. If you would like an explanation, it's money that's appropriated by the council, and essentially the budget narrative is it'll be spent on special projects within the 14 counties, and it's equally available to the 15 council members who have geographic districts that they represent. The projects range from any number of things, large and small, and we've not rejected a project. And we've had a good working relationship, and I think we've got a lot of good work done together.
Personally, it sounds like an amazing project, and I'd like to see it happen myself, but I was told about the deadline, but I like the idea that Speaker Byrd had about seeing if this could be reconciled outside of this committee.
Yes.
Okay, we have got we need to vote on whether to recall.
On the vote. So the vote, yes, is allowing David's money to be added to this and moved?
Now, okay, so he is wanting to recall the vote on the budget mod that we just passed. So if you want to recall the vote that we just passed.
And then talk about his, okay? And talk about his wanting to put up a pavilion for gospel singers. That's what we're going to talk about next.
I don't know that really has anything to do with it. At issue is we're given a specific amount of money and time frame to spend it in.
but we make mistakes. And so I hope we vote yes. here.
Okay.
I got one more statement, Chairperson. What is it? So, you know, my conversations with the chief and the Secretary of State on trying to get these monies exhausted in a timely manner in the years past have been denied. It's going to be, you know, it's going to be his word against my word. But that's the reason that's the reason there was a carryover into the years leading into now. Last year I had a total of $70,000 that I've been saving up for a big community project in Soho. And you know, and like I said, I got the phone call October the 8th from the Secretary of State in Canaan stating that they was not going to approve the carryover after I addressed him at a community meeting there in Stillwell. And anyways, you know, why now? You know, that's the question, like why now? But I am, again, these dollars, it doesn't affect me. These dollars affect my community. And, you know, I don't know if it's directed personally towards me or what it is, but a vote no on this will affect the people in District 3, in the Dry Creek, in the Tailholt, in the Keys District, Keys area. So, and this is a no-brainer to me, but evidently there's conflict here. And so, just saying that, I think the right thing to do, and what I would do in your all's district, would give your money to your constituents as well. So, but again, this is I need 31,000 carried over into FY19. So, and if we don't do it now, I've tried again next month or whatever. But again, this is fighting for District 3's money. So,
I think this is the problem whenever you deviate and you make exceptions to things that are rules. And you know, if you set a precedent once, then people are going to want to set another precedent, another precedent. We have rules for a reason. I don't like setting precedents on rules that we have. Yes, I agree, it would be a bad deal for your constituents not to get it. But I think that with everything that has been said in this meeting, that there was an opportunity to maybe take care of this outside of this. I mean, we were addressing something else, and now it's turned into something else totally. I mean, this isn't what we were talking about originally. We had a vote, and then it turned into losing X amount of money. I think we have to be careful when we make precedents, because then it opens the door for this to happen over and over and over. This is why we have rules. But at the same time, if there's going to be something outside worked out, that's a different deal. But I'm not. I hate it, but I don't like to go against our rules. I mean, I don't like that. And if there's another way to fix this, I would be in favor of that instead of doing what we're doing now.
Has it been done for anybody else before?
It has, yes.
So this is not?
That is a precedent, absolutely. Whenever you go against the rules, you set a precedent, you change things, that is a precedent. And this is the danger of doing that. I mean, this is what's going to happen over and over and over.
Well, when it happened before, would have been time to lay the hammer down.
Absolutely.
Not
And
now.
we've got a lot of people wanting to weigh in on this, so I think we are going to.
I have one more
Excuse me,
comment.
I have the floor, David. We are going to limit discussion. If anybody has a finishing up thing, 1 minute apiece. If you don't want to talk on this issue, you can pass your time up. So, Councilor Austin had his hand up.
It's simple to me. This is
This is the chief's special project budget. It's not my special project budget. I request they approve. I request that I get my money spent. My money's in my community right now because I played by the rules that I knew, and I didn't wait until that now to make an exception.
Okay, Councilor Crittenden?
Okay. In my estimate, this is the Cherokee people's money, and this is, I trust Councilor Walkenstick that he's going to put it back to where he's wanting to do it, put the money. So there's been mistakes made. I make them every day. Maybe you don't. This would be a time to set a rule after this, but I could not sleep at night if David's money that sounds like he made a mistake on, but somebody else has made a mistake on, but I didn't hear anything about that. I couldn't sleep at night denying him this money. So I hope we do whatever it takes to get his people, essentially, that money.
All right, Councilor Warner?
Yes, ma'am. I was just curious, Dave, so you're saying that they denied you when you came? I mean, like, let's say that it's October 1, and I know I got a new budget, and I went in and said, hey, I'm going to take mine, I'm going to take 30 now for Dry Creek, and then another year passed, and then you said, hey, I want to use 40 for Dry Creek, and those both were denied?
Yes, that was essentially what happened. They got denied 2 or 3 different times, and it allowed a excess of money to be put in special projects for District 3.
I mean, it's an outright lie.
That's all.
Councilor Shaw?
Yes, I'd like to implore that the motion to vote on this would be withdrawn and that negotiations take place for a period of 1 month, and if it's not resolved, then we bring it back to a vote, because I really think that this could be settled outside of this committee.
I agree.
I like that.
I like that.
I like that idea.
I think
Councilor
everybody
Williams?
does.
Do you want to speak to the issue?
Was that a motion?
Can I make it in the form of a motion?
We've got a motion on the floor,
Okay.
so,
Then no, I don't want to speak.
okay.
Thank you.
David?
You know, what Shambaugh and what everyone said about rules and precedent, and what Jody said, I think these funds would be more suitable if it was under the tribal council authority versus the administration authority. And saying that because there's been a history of these funds being used for outside of special projects. They may be used for community assistance, maybe of some sort. So having our own accountant keep accountability on the rules of how this money's spent, I think would be more feasible. But that's my 2 cents.
Rex?
I'd like to, like she said, table this, and because every time we say something, one brings up another, and we've got completely away from what we wanted to do here today. I'd like to wait a month on that and come back with cooler heads and give everybody a month to work it out.
Okay.
Because it's just got exaggerated everywhere, and we're all out of focus here. This doesn't need to be in public. We can work it out.
Chief?
I agree. I was really excited about when discussion started. We were talking about the data he had collected from Howard and Rob and his budget, and I came in just feeling good about it. I thought, well, it sounds like the council members are on board with this. And I talked to the secretary. It looked like we're going to move forward with this gathering up data. Next thing I know, we're in a debate. I'm always, if we can compromise and get a resolution taken care of, I'm always for that. That's just the kind of person I am. I can debate as well, but in this issue, I'm gonna have to agree with Councilor Shaw and Councilor Smith here. Why don't we give this 30 days and let's see if administration and Councilor Walkenstick work it out. I think there was I don't think I heard a motion to table, but if that's what somebody suggests, I'd sure support it.
Okay. And I think where I am on the issue is 14 of the 15 of us that had these funds were aware of the rules. We went by the rules. We got our stuff turned in. We were reminded of the rules when time got short. We all got it done. I owe it to my constituents to take care of my business, and that's the way I look at it. Councilor Shambaugh?
So I don't what are we waiting a month for? I mean, I don't understand. What was Ms. Shaw talking about? What are we waiting a month? What are we?
My suggestion is that Counselor Walking's.
On walking sticks deal?
I mean, I think the project sounds amazing. I don't understand the confusion, but what I would like to see is there's a possibility here that this could be resolved outside of this committee.
So what you're saying is the carryover money that he's talking about, that be backed up a month. Is that what
What
you're
I'm
talking about?
saying is that he work with administration to see if they can
I know,
possibly
but
resolve this issue for a project, since they have never denied a project.
So the
You've
other.
passed everything without that. So.
Okay, pass everything without that.
Right. You've already
Yes.
done
We've already
that.
done it.
We've already passed that?
We've already passed this.
Want to recall
Okay.
the budget line.
Okay, well then I have nothing to say about that.
Okay. Frankie?
My stance is pretty much what Denise's is. We had rules, we followed them, and if there was a precedent set before, it was set for him, right? And so he
No,
knew
there was
it
somebody
was
else.
There's been two done.
two,
but, yeah.
okay, so, but he knew
Here and there.
to spend the money.
I did know, Frankie.
Counselor Vasquez?
I ditto what Janice Taylor said. I followed the rules, I spent. I don't think we need to make changes for one person.
Wow.
Counselor Dobbins, do you have anything to add to the discussion?
No, I just concur with Counselor Shamball's earlier comments.
Okay. Counselor England?
Well, I think the system works great. I've never had any problems at all.
Thanks, Phil.
Working with Canaan. And I've always got and of course he had to remind me to spend my money this year and I got it spent. So, but I don't want to take another district's money and put it in the gen fund or wherever it goes. He made a mistake. I assume he made a mistake, and I would just hope these two could work it out. So I'm willing to put it off and let them work it out, and then bring it back if it doesn't work.
Point taken. Counselor Buzzard?
Well, that's what we're here for, as a committee, to make the decisions and to vote. The precedence has been set 2 times now, I've heard, so let's vote on it today. After this vote, then we set rules down, and it's not going to happen again, and go forward. I also think David, Council Walkenstick the people deserve those dollars over there in his district. Not back in the general fund. They deserve it in his district, so I think we need to vote on it and carry on.
Chairman, if you, I'm going to withdraw my.
Okay, wait, just a minute. The motion to reconsider, if he withdraws it, then we just go back. Okay. I'm sorry, I just didn't want to.
I understand.
Explain something to me, and I didn't want to get in a mess.
So I listened to everyone's thoughts, and I'm going to withdraw my motion to reconsider. I'm going to work with the administration on getting my $31,000 carried over in FY19, and if it's unsuccessful, I'll be back here. I'll be back here next month.
I think that sounds great. I think that's the way it is meant to work. So that brings us down to announcements, and I do have one. Our next meeting is on our schedule for November 14th at noon. I asked Speaker Byrd to flop meetings with me. We'll actually have E&F at 10, and rules will be at noon next time.
Yes, I have one announcement. I'm showing the Man Killer movie tonight on the Guthrie Green. It's an outdoor facility in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I hope you all know you're invited to come. I'd love to recognize you there. Hope you're there at 7:30. Bring blankets, bring something to sit on, bring a picnic. It is an outdoor facility. 7:30. I'd love to see you there.
Got a motion to adjourn? Got a second?